Time right now is 9:19 here on Live Impact News. Want to take you out to that press conference right now. South Carolina Representative Jim Clyburn in Orangeburg, South Carolina, on this first day of early voting as we listen in.
To break ground on what will be, in my lifetime, the fourth bridge across Lake Marion. This is going to be a $470 million bridge. The bridge is going to make the travel from Miami all the way up to Maine. Interstate 95 runs from Miami to Maine. And the halfway point between Miami and New York is the little town of St. T, right there at exit 98. And that bridge will make for good travel for interstate travelers going from Florida to Maine. But when the governor called me and asked me to sit down with the highway department so that they could give me the background on that bridge and what the state wanted to do. He had received $175 million in state funds. And at the time, the projection was that bridge would cost $350 million. And he needed another $175 million from the federal government. Well, I told him of my relationship with that bridge and that I would be glad to sit down and talk with his highway department. When I sat down and talked with them and they showed me their rendition of the bridge, I said to them, I'll be glad to work with getting the federal dollars necessary to get this bridge done. However, I would be much more excited about it if you were to make a modification to this bridge. And they asked what modification I wanted. Now, many of you may remember, I know that Councilman Ravenel remembers, that the little town of Somerton had just lost its entire water system. They had no water. They had to revert to wells, unsafe drinking water for their schools and for their households. Sitting across Lake Marion is the Lake Marion Regional Water Agency, producing water for the new Volvo plant, water for Fort Mott and Calhoun, over in Dorchester County, producing water for all of these places, yet the little town of Somerton, just a few miles away, had no water. So I said to them, if you go back and redesign this bridge, so this bridge can hold water pipes, so that we can get water pipes running from the Lake Marion Regional Water Agency over into Clyburn County, all the way to Somerton, so that we would not just have convenience in travel for people to get from Miami to New York, but that we could carry safe drinking water across Lake Marion into Clyburn and Somerton counties. They went back and they redesigned the bridge and they came back to me and says, to do this will cost another $30 million. And I said to them, how much do you have now? And they got the message. And they came back with a new bridge. Because I don't mind travel being convenient for total strangers to get from one place to the other. But if we can do what is necessary to get safe drinking water for our children, in the schools, safe drinking water for communities, and to create the opportunity for economic development, because now that part of Clarendon County will have water. Now, I say that to say this. This morning, I was watching news reports, and there's a report of a new book written by Ben Rhodes, who was a speechwriter for Barack Obama. The book is about 15 speeches that he has turned into a book. These are speeches that he says defines America. And one of the speeches was being delivered by Ronald Reagan. And the interesting thing about the speech is he used, for the subtext of his speech, something that was written by Alexis de Tocqueville way back in the 1830s. And many of you have heard me quote this often. De Tocqueville, in his book, Democracy in America, wrote, and some people says it's not quite true. I don't know. I was not there in 1835, but some people seem to think I was. De Tocqueville wrote that America is great because its people are good. And if the people of America ever cease to be good, America will cease to be great. That's what we have been seeing in the last several weeks and months. A challenge to the goodness of America. As I stand here, our state Senate is debating whether or not to recreate this congressional district in order to fulfill orders from the White House to say to the 29% of African Americans in South Carolina, the 43% of Democratic voters in South Carolina, irrespective of your presence, you are not deserving of a single member of Congress of the 7 that we have. 27% of the population should have 0% of the vote. 43% of the voters should have 0 representation. That is a challenge to the goodness of South Carolinians. And nothing has made me more incensed than to see this kind of imposition on the people of South Carolina. The people who drew that map don't live in South Carolina. The people who drew that map, some of them may not have ever set foot in South Carolina. But those of us who sit there, Jerry Govan sit on the floor of the House, working with others, Democrats and Republicans every day. The last time we drew the map for this district, it took 2 years. People had meetings all over the state, people sitting down with each other. And we came out of that process with a map that yielded 6 Republicans and only 1 Democrat, 6 whites, 1 black, and none of us did anything but make the adjustment, because we went through a process. And when you go through a process and it does not yield what you may wish, you make the adjustment and move on and hope that next time the process will yield better results for you. That's what we did. And when the map was challenged, The United States Supreme Court 2 years ago said this is constitutional. No, it doesn't do what all the Democrats want, and it doesn't do what all the black community wants, but the process was constitutional. This White House says, to hell with the process. To hell with the Constitution.
Shame, shame.
Just do what we want done. And that's what has us here today. It makes no sense, and South Carolinians should reject this. I'm very proud of this state. I've lived every moment of my life in this state. My parents' roots go back to the ships that came into Charleston, and their family ended up on my father's side in Kershaw County, my mother's side in Lee County. I was born and raised in Sumter County. I came to college here in Orangeburg County. On my way to Charleston to teach school, I stopped by Berkeley County, Monk's Corner, and picked up a wife. So I know the state. And I am embarrassed that so many people in our legislature will allow strangers in Washington to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They ought to be embarrassed in that process as well. So I want to thank you. So I want to thank the Republican leader of the Senate. I just read another communique from the Republican senator from Beaufort, Senator Davis, for standing up for South Carolina and resisting the partisan acrimony that is taking place in Washington. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Congressman Gene Zaleski, a Jackson Democrat. The Senate is going to be voting today, third reading on the redistricting. Mm-hmm. If the maps do pass, will you consider running for another district, District 2, or another district? I don't know, what are your options should the maps pass?
My options are very limited to where I vote. I vote here in Orangeburg County. I live in Santee for the most part, the majority of the time. I will vote and I will run where I live.
So you will run for District 2 then? Because that would be...
I have no idea what they're going to approve.
Yeah, but
I have no idea. All I'm saying is this. I am going to run where I live. So whatever number they put on it, that's where I'm going to run.
Thank you, Congressman.
Amen.
Congressman Clyburn, John Jordan with Watch Fox. How you talked about the fairness of drawing the maps and that process. What standards do you think should determine whether a congressional map is fair?
Well, the Constitution, the United States Supreme Court laid that out years ago. You know, this is May. Come July 21st, I'm going to celebrate the 47th anniversary of my 39th birthday. Okay. For those of you whose math is as bad as mine, that will make me 86 years old. I've lived every one of those here in South Carolina. And the Supreme Court laid out years ago. Now, as you may know, I just finished writing a book. Well, I'm not just finished, it was published last November. And the book was about the kind of politics we had in South Carolina when the first 8 African Americans were kicked out of Congress because maps were drawn that did not meet certain tests. So the Supreme Court laid out some tests. And number one among them is to preserve communities of interest. That's number one. So the fairness of a map is dictated by whether or not it preserves communities of interest. Now I want somebody to tell me, what is the similarities in Clemson, South Carolina, and Columbia, South Carolina? This map that they have drawn has got Clemson University in the same congressional district as the University of South Carolina. Where is the community of interest? It ain't there. It just ain't there. How do you get a congressional district to go from Oconee County to Richland County and say it's constitutional? This is probably the most egregious map I've seen since the 1890s. And it was in 1890 that they drew the so-called shoestring district that ran from Beaufort all the way up to Sumter and put all the black folks in one district and left. We had 7 then, and it was 6-1, black to white then. We had grown from that, but we got some people sitting up in Washington that would love to see the country get back to that. So that's number one, preserve communities of interest. And number two, they must be contiguous. And in order to make that contiguous, you got to come all the way down I-26, take 85 over to 26, 26 all the way down to 77 and 95 in order for it to be contiguous. That's foolishness. And that's what they've done. And to have so many people in the state Senate and the House voting for that is just egregious.
Congressman, how did it feel casting your vote today as lawmakers?
I'm sorry?
How did it feel casting your vote today as lawmakers are set to take up this vote on redistricting? Did it feel different than other years?
No, it doesn't feel any different to me because it's been my practice to always vote as soon as the polls open for early voting. So this is not my first time being here to vote as soon as the polls open. I've done that every election day, except that 2 years ago, I went over to Vance because I had planned to spend the rest of the day. In order to make my tea time, I had to go to Vance rather than come here. So I voted over in Vance the last time. Today, I've always voted here. But we used to vote right in here before y'all kicked us out and moved us over. That's all right. So it feels natural to me.
If redistricting does pass, what are your plans to reach voters in the new district?
To reach the voters?
In the new district.
I don't have to. The way I see it, the new 6th district, if I'm in that district, I will go back to counties that I've represented for 20 years. I used to represent all of Florence. I now only have Lake City. I used to represent all of Marion County, Darlington. There was one other county over there. Oh, Lee. I represented that before. And that this new district will, if I'm in the 6th, Kershaw County will be in it. Lancaster County will be in it. In all those almost 86 years, I have never met a Clyburn, black or white, that did not come from Kershaw and Lancaster counties. And so I got a lot of relatives over there, some that claim me, others don't. But I would not be running in a place strange. If I run in what would be the 2nd, it would be Orangeburg, Richland, all the way down to Bamberg, Allendale, Hampton, Calhoun, the same counties I represent now. Now what they did with it, they went through to try to get the more Republican precincts out of the counties to make it a Trump plus 15. The 6 will be a Trump plus 11. I don't care if it's Trump plus 20. I will be running where I live.
All right. Good.
Congressman Clyburn, Derek Rush from WIS News. Couple quick questions. What do you believe voters outside your district misunderstand about why District 6 was drawn in the first place? And have you spoken to the governor about this redistricting conversation? If so, what has that conversation been like?
No, I'm not discussed that with the governor. I was here in Orangeburg with the governor, last Monday, where we were announcing the new plant here. This candy plant that's going to be here. I don't want y'all to get sweet teeth, but it's going to hire 1,000 people.
Yes.
And the governor and I spoke. We did not talk about this. It's kind of interesting. When we had the groundbreaking for the bridge, the governor didn't talk much about the $175 million that we were able to convince the Biden administration to let us have for that bridge. But he did talk about the $45 million that he came to my office and requested my help in getting to set up Nexus, South Carolina. And he told the group on the day that we had the groundbreaking of how critical my assistance was to get in Nexus, South Carolina. But last Monday, when we were announcing the candy plant, I know you were there.
I was there.
The mayor was there. I don't know if y'all remember what the governor said. He says that when we were recruiting this company, they had a lot of questions.